Reading recovery is an early intervention that is implemented in schools to provide additional support to address the literacy learning needs of the lowest achieving grade 1 students. It is designed to help these students make accelerated progress and catch up with their peers. Most Manitoba children begin kindergarten when they have turned 5 years old, so the beginning of grade 1 is an ideal time for schools to complete an objective check of children's literacy progress. Reading and writing behaviors are carefully observed with a survey of achievement, an observation survey of early literacy achievement. Using a range of observation procedures, teachers can identify the children's strengths and weaknesses. The emphasis is on what the child can do, on the strategic activity they are using, rather than merely on the scores. This careful check on progress helps in making important instructional decisions. It also allows children who need extra help to be identified early. After a year at school in a regular classroom, the observation survey reveals which children are having the greatest challenge learning to read and write. Those with the lowest progress get a second chance in a read and recovery program. The read and recovery lessons, the specially trained teacher provides individual instruction based on the student's learning needs. For a period of time, the children will have 2 teachers supporting their literacy development. For the first 2 weeks of lessons, the teacher stays with what the child already knows. Nothing new is taught. This is a time for the teacher and the child to learn to work together. The gifts the child brings to the learning are recognized and reinforced.
Reading recovery began in 1976 in New Zealand at what is now the University of Auckland. It quickly spread throughout the country until it was implemented in 12 different centers. It then went abroad and was implemented in Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom, and in Canada.
A few weeks into the program, the students are already showing significant progress. Each child's reading recovery lesson is different. They are designed to meet individual needs, so the book's instruction, pacing, time in the lessons vary from child to child. Each lesson begins with the reading of a number of easy storybooks, giving the children the opportunity to read fluently. They write a brief story or message, practicing words and letters, and analyzing words that are new. The child reads a new and interesting book each day, which provides them with the challenge of learning to handle new material independently with supportive teaching. Daily records are kept of everything that happens in the lesson. A summary of the lesson, the running records, a graph of reading progress, the child's written stories, their writing vocabulary, and all the child's familiar books provides an ongoing analysis of what the children are doing and the shifts they are making as readers and writers. On the basis of these comprehensive records, the teachers are able to make the most appropriate teaching decisions for the child at that time.
Teachers in the in-service course are experienced early years teachers. They know a lot about how to teach young children, and they learn a great deal from each other. It is my job to set up a situation where they are able to learn from each other's experiences and where they are encouraged to support each other. Gradually, over the year, they become better and better at assessing and teaching students until they are quite independent by the end of the training year. Every 2 weeks throughout the school year, the teachers being trained in reading recovery meet at the training center to observe demonstration lessons and discuss the teaching decisions made by the teachers teaching for the group. The reading recovery teachers learn to put into words what the child is doing and how the teacher is responding. Together they talk about what they have just observed. The teacher leader clarifies concepts, theories, and guides the group to consider more difficult questions. They are encouraged to ask searching questions about each other's teachings, explain decisions made, and offer alternative ideas. Over the year-long course, they gradually become more proficient at critically evaluating their own teaching decisions and become more skilled at thinking about the challenges they encounter. As part of the training, teachers are also visited by teacher leaders in their school setting and given individual guidance. By the end of the lesson series, students have made great progress over a matter of weeks. They no longer need the something extra reading recovery has provided. Back in their classrooms, they will be able to function effectively and will continue to build on the reading and writing skills they have learned.
We don't think that these children who come from the bottom end of the achievement distribution will be able to sustain that when they get into the standard classes. At the end of 3 years, we did another check, and at this time we decided that we would separate out for the first time the Maori children from the Pacific Island children from the Pakeha children, and we would look at them separately to see if there were any differences in the way they were maintaining their progress. And all 3 groups were performing at average levels back in their Standard 2 and Standard 3 classrooms, which was very satisfying. And some of them from each group were doing extremely well, although they were about 9 years of age. They had reading ages and spelling ages up in the 11 and 12 year.
Reading recovery works. That's based on proven research and evidence documented and reported on in the What Works Clearinghouse, WWC. Reading recovery has shown to be successful, and I have seen its successes. Those successes are not only the children, but our teachers as well, who have been trained. Our school has initially supported reading recovery since 1994, although we did step away from it for a number of years, and we found that without the ongoing support sessions, many aspects of the procedures were adapted or changed, which reflected on student outcomes. We know that it works, have reaffirmed that it works, and it has been such a success story in our school that it really receives first priority when we come to our organization. Central to the program is its early start, with each child having a lesson every day. Beginning where the child is, it works on their strengths, and the children work intensively, learning to help themselves so they can solve reading and writing problems independently. As the early years vice principal in the school, it is excellent to look at the early years and feel the children were being monitored in their reading progress and development, and to know that if anything was identified at the 6-year-old level, there was the organization there to deal with it, to work with the children and to get them back to competent reading and writing levels. So before very long, they would be straight back in the mainstream of classes and would have no further problems in the future with strong literacy instruction in the classroom. However, such a program could not survive without a number of levels of support. It works because it's carefully planned, along with the support of our director and school board. It involves commitment on the part of administrators who organize the program in schools and make sure it works effectively and continues to expand. Teacher leaders who are prepared by an intensive training course take on the task of guiding the teachers, and experienced classroom teachers also receive thorough training and also take that understanding of literacy learning back into the classrooms. Reading recovery fits easily into an existing educational system. The extra help given is part of the regular school system, which addresses the children's literacy needs, and that's the reason why we are all here. We are investing in our future.
It did a lot for me as a teacher, and to watch the children respond to it was so dramatic. Within 6 weeks, the students are already showing significant progress. I found it absolutely terrific to have the lowest achieving students getting additional support in literacy. It made life so much easier for them as well as me.
The training in reading recovery has really challenged and shifted my thinking about literacy processing, how I teach reading and writing, and how children learn to read and write. I teach reading recovery for half the day, and I teach in a grade 1 classroom for the remaining half. I've noticed that I tend to transport what I've gained in reading recovery into the classroom. It has a huge influence on my expectations, practices, and instruction. I now tend to foster independence more in the classroom, taking advantage of the reciprocal nature of reading and writing as a time saver. I also give more wait time and prompt for answers rather than always giving answers, and that was a huge shift for me. There's a Clay quote that really stands out for me. Teachers do not need to know how to teach independence. They need to know how and when to hold back and let the independent child take over the whole task. Children learn that this is expected very quickly. It is often the teacher who finds it difficult to let the child be independent. She finds it difficult to be asked not to teach. And that was me before reading recovery.
No matter how reading is taught in schools, most children learn to read well, but some find it difficult, and for those, reading recovery provides that something extra that they need to be successful readers. Reading recovery has two positive outcomes. All children in reading recovery make progress. While most rejoin the average group in the classroom, there are some children who are identified as needing further specialist support. These children can start to get additional support early. What is possible for our children? The question for the future is how small is the group that will require more than reading recovery program?